All right, so let's talk price objections. I'm going to share my screen with you. Hang on a second. And we're going to do you. Okay. So those of you that were on the retreat that we did in October, we were listening to somebody named Brian Tracy, who's been around for a long, long time in sales. And he has something that I came across called the psychology of selling. And that's where a lot of this information is coming from. You can find his audio on YouTube for free, or I have it on Audible, which is the app on your phone where you can get not any, but lots of books that you can listen to, which I find incredibly helpful because I spend some extra time in the car and, making dinner and whatever. So anyway, so this is where you can find this information. I can post it in our group if you want to hear more or hear directly from him. This particular one, I believe, is only audio. I don't think this particular thing that I'm going to reference is a book. So you can find it on YouTube. And I found a PDF too that I can post in the group afterwards as well. But anyway, he calls it price resistance, which maybe is a slightly softer way of saying price objection, I think. But so that's what we're going to talk about. And I think that overlying thing is that, nobody can really afford it. And it being pretty much anything. Nobody really can afford a house, a car, a new purse or whatever. So that's kind of the underlying thing that we are all hitting. We're hitting price resistance on every level. Okay, but to start, I wanted to tell you that in general, objections or resistance are to be welcomed. And I love that idea that it's just kind of a need for us to shift our perspective. I know, I think there are very few, if any, people on our team that have sales backgrounds and marketing backgrounds. I think maybe there's one or two. But anyway, the rest of us come from totally different fields. And so hearing objections was not something that came as part of my day-to-day life in my career as a social worker. So it was a bit of a blow hearing those, because it kind of affects your ego a bit. You feel like maybe they're rejecting you and not the product. And so I want to help everybody, including myself, shift your perspective of objections. And really, there are no sales that don't get objections. So you can think of, and sales are everywhere. I mean, if you think about it, it's not just in Beachbody. Sales are everywhere. Anytime you go to the mall, to the store, to the grocery store, those are all sales. Everything that we do is basically sales, essentially. So, and there are objections all over the place. But what rejections do for us, the way that we can spin them to think of them a little bit more positively, is that they denote interests. And they're really just requests for more information. I mean, personally, I would take an objection any day over silence, because the silence really is what indicates either they haven't seen it, of course, on Facebook, or it seems like that's the real objection. But an actual verbalized objection is really just a question for more information. So that's the way I want us to start thinking about it, if that's not in your brain already. Okay, so before we get into how to actually handle the objections, there's really 4 money truths, I'm calling them, and just things to know in general about people's perspective about money. And these are very general, broad, sweeping statements, but you can take little nuggets from them as we go. So the first one is called the law of excluded alternative. And it's just kind of a bit of mumbo jumbo, meaning that most everyone feels that they have limited amounts of money, which means that when you buy one thing, you can't buy another thing. Or when you are buying something, you feel like you're losing a teeny bit of your freedom because you'll have a little bit less of whatever you have to go around. So we tend to hold back from buying things in general because we want to maintain this little bit of freedom, this little bit of flexibility. So these are, again, just things to kind of keep in the back of your mind. These are true for buying anything. Again, buying a new pair of shoes, a new whatever. These are true for money in general. The next one is figuring out if a person who has a price objection or price resistance or whatever, is it that they are unwilling to pay, or is it that they're unable to pay? And there's a big difference, right? So some people are actually filing for bankruptcy and they literally do not have money. Most people have the money, but they're unable to find the value. And we're going to go over that over and over again tonight. But it is important to determine which it is. Do they actually truly not have the money? And the example that Brian Tracy uses is, are you trying to sell shoes to a man who lost his legs, or are you trying to sell shoes to somebody who just doesn't afford it? And it is really important to know the difference. And the way you get to know the difference is asking questions about their situation, learning a little bit more about the person, really kind of assessing if there's a real condition or not. Okay, and then number 3 about money is that money is, or the monetary unit, the only common denominator between one object or one service and another. And so it's the value that we place on it is kind of funky, right? But sometimes when people are asking about how much is it, or they have an objection about cost or whatever, it's the one thing that they can ask about a product that they maybe know nothing else about. So it's kind of like when you're in the elevator and you don't know what to talk about. Of course, you talk about the weather because it's the one thing that everybody can relate to. Similarly, if somebody announces that they're getting married, but the one question or that they just got engaged, the first question people ask is, when is the wedding? Like, it's kind of the natural, like, what is the price? Like, that's the natural thing. It's not something that we need to be scared of. It's just money is the common denominator. What's the price of that? What's the price of that? And it's not to be something we should be scared of. And last is, really, no matter what the price is, people are going to, like, the knee-jerk reaction is, I can't afford it. And it's not, you could say a challenge pack is, $350. Oh, I can't afford it. Or you could say a challenge pack is $75. Oh, I can't afford it. Like, it just is the way we are in our society. We kind of have this knee-jerk reaction. It's always going to be more than what people expect it's going to be. I mean, and these are general statements, so that might not be true for everybody, but in general, it's going to be more than what they thought it was going to be, whatever the price is. We don't want to use our hard-earned money on things in general. But the bottom line is, the more a person wants something, the less concerned they're going to be about the price. So that's where we can fit in. So that's kind of the underlying theme across this tonight, is that it's our job to convince people that the value of what we offer is far greater than the cost. And this is where lots of things can come into play for us. So this is where we can make great posts about the value of what we're doing. We can have great conversations. We can collect success stories. This is the part we can control, is providing them the opportunity to see what great value we have to offer. And so that the price doesn't seem as crazy, and we can talk more with them about the value, lead with the value. Okay, so moving on to these 7 points of handling price resistance. Okay, so the first one here is basically, it's funny, sorry about the why is not there, but anyway, the first one here is intensified buying desire reduces price sensitivity. That's a big mouthful of mumbo jumbo that basically means the more they want it, the less they care about the price. So again, providing them value upon value about why we love what we do, why what we do works, all those kinds of things. So our job is to increase how much they want something, and it's never to argue about the price. And as I was typing this up earlier tonight, I was thinking back. I think I used this example once before, but it just jumps out in my brain. When I was in college, I worked at a Panera restaurant. I think everybody has those, right? You know what a Panera is. And they sell those like gigantic cookies, like the size of your head, essentially. And the price of the cookie went up while I was there. I can't remember what it was. Let's say it went up from $1.50 to $2 or something. And this guy was arguing with me about the price of the cookie. And I'm kind of like, I don't have anything to do with that. It's the price. Do you want the cookie or you don't want the cookie? Like, I don't really care that much. And I'm sorry you feel that way. But anyway, like, who denotes the price? It's not us. So we can't really argue about it. It's just, do you want the cookie or don't you want the cookie? And if I would stand there and talk to him about like, well, but the cookie's so delicious and it's made with these ingredients and blah, 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 then he probably wouldn't have cared as much about the price, right? So he needed to see the value in that in order to pay the extra amount for the cookie. So the more they want it, the less they'll care about the actual price. And obviously that guy either didn't really want it or he wanted me to explain better to him about the value of the cookie. Number 2, and again, we've talked about this already and it'll just keep coming back, but this has a little extra spin on it. So always focusing on the benefits and the value of what we have to offer them over the price. So what we want to do is purposefully and thoughtfully avoid talking about the price until we are ready, because we're in control of that information. We don't have to let somebody else that we're trying to talk to about it guide that. We're in control of that, and we can put it in when we feel comfortable. So let's go through some examples. When somebody says, how much is it? So I want to use the example first of when somebody posts about a challenge group on Facebook, and somebody right in the comments says, how much is it? So you post something like, I'm looking for 8 women who want to blah, 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 lose weight, lose 5 to 10 pounds, 30, blah, blah. Somebody posts right in the comment, how much is it? And you say, it's $140. No, that's the worst answer. And I'm not, if you've done it or whatever, please don't beat yourself up. But it's not the right answer, and I'll tell you why. Because immediately, what's the knee-jerk reaction? I can't afford it. And you haven't even really had a chance to explain what it is you have to offer, what the quality of what it is you have to offer. They don't even really know. I mean, they saw your little blurb, but that's not enough. That's not all it is. They didn't really get to see much value at all, and they hardly got to see the benefit. And they didn't give you the chance to show them that the benefits will outweigh the price. So don't lead with that ever. If you're doing the post like that and somebody comments, how much is it? Just say, I will send you a private message. That's all you need to say. Or you can say, that's a great question, let's talk about it, or something to that effect. But never post just the price right there. And also don't private message them with just the money, the cost right there. So what do you do instead? How much is it? What you could say, these are some good examples. Ms. Prospect, if it's not exactly right for your situation, there's no charge at all. Now, may I ask you a couple of questions? And then proceed to find out with them, is it what they're looking for? So you might then proceed to ask some questions like, what kinds of goals did you have in mind? What did you find appealing about that post? Tell me a little bit more about your nutrition, that kind of thing. Just going into questions about really, truly trying to figure out, is this a good fit for them? So if we're talking about the 21-day fix, for example, you might say, are you looking to lose weight? Are you looking to jumpstart your fitness? Tell me more about what you've tried in the past. Any of those things that can help narrow you down to see really, are they going to be a good fit for that program? Or are they going to be a good fit for your group? You could also say, somebody says, how much is it? You could also say, could I come to that in just a minute? That is the good part. And then talk again about all the benefits and value that they would get from whatever it is you're offering them. Shakeology, 21-day fix, whatever. But you need to put the price off because you need to be in control of when that happens. And you also need to truly just refuse to talk about the price before they get the chance to understand what you're offering. And they need a thorough understanding of that. So you might want to send them the video about the 21-day fix or whatever it is. Okay, so the next one is not to mention it, like I was just saying, not to mention it until they actually ask for it. So some people might not actually ever say, how much is it? And you don't have to bring that up for them. You don't have to, maybe they already kind of know, or maybe that price point isn't the selling point for them. Maybe they need to know, is it something they're going to stick with? Is it something that has worked for somebody else or whatever? So you don't want to make the assumption that they're going to have a cost objection when they maybe wouldn't have one. Maybe they've already done their own research, whatever. So don't spoon feed them an objection that they might not have. So not everybody has cost objections. necessarily, or maybe it doesn't come out till later, but you don't have to say the price until the person asks, or until you feel ready to give it to them. Okay, number 4. So we're focusing, again, this is the common theme, right, on the value that they're going to receive. So we're not, this probably, hopefully goes without saying, we're not focusing on the commission that you're going to be receiving, or I know at the end of the month, it's all about the SC points that you're trying to get. But when you focus on those things, people sense it. They get it. They know that you're desperate. So we're talking instead, we need to make sure we shift our mindsets to focusing on the value that they're going to receive. So let's see. Let's say we get to that point again. You've already provided them with some value, and it's time now to really discuss the cost. So how much is it comes up again. You're ready, they're ready. After you've shown them some benefits and value, maybe you've sent them the video, maybe you've talked through all the points, maybe you've figured out this is a pretty good fit for them. So you want to precede the actual saying of the price by restating the value that the person's going to get. So what I do sometimes is actually go back into the back office. Sometimes, depending on the situation, like for the 21-day fix, you might want to say things like, you're going to get 7 different workouts. You're going to get these those color-coded containers, the portion control containers. You're going to get a 30-day supply of Shakeology, which is the dense nutrition. It will cover 1 meal a day for you for 30 days. You're going to get access to my VIP support group where you can check in every day. You're going to get meal plans, blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then say the price. But you don't ever want to say the cost without mentioning the value and the benefits at the same time, because they need to know what they're getting for their money. And that will help them make the decision to purchase. Okay, so then they come back at you and say, that's expensive, right? That's too much. So these are some of the things you can actually say back to them. Yes, Mrs. Prospect, it's not cheap. However, there are very good reasons for the price, and I would like to explain some of them to you. So, for example, with Shakeology, actually, you know what? You can keep going here. There are very good reasons why thousands of people have examined Shakeology and compared it with our competitors and decided to pay more and buy this product. Would you like to know what some of those reasons are? And then you can go through some of the things that make Shakeology, for example, amazing, which is 70 natural foods in it, superfoods, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So then you can kind of list out, or you could show them another video. Okay, another response would be, yes, we are the highest price supplier of this product, or in our case, we are the highest priced shake around, and we're busier today than we've ever been. Would you like to know why so many people are using Shakeology, even though we charge more than other shakes? And then again, you would list out the benefits of Shakeology and some of the ingredients that go into it, and so on and so forth. It's acknowledging that it is expensive, but here's why. And then one more I just wanted to throw in there for you in case this one hits home for you. So it's more expensive than I expected. Yes, but you know, you always get what you pay for. Did you ever get anything cheap that was any good? You know, in a competitive market, we are selling this for the best price we can. If you want a quality product, sometimes you have to flex your budget and do what you can to get the money. And then show them that it's fairly priced for everything that comes with it. And I think we've all been there before, right? Where you think you're getting something cheaper, so you pay for the cheaper price, and of course, it's not as good as if you would have just paid for the thing in general. This just happened to me with one of those like dustbuster things for the kitchen. I was tempted to buy. I did buy one that was $20 and it's already not working. So, you know, sometimes you have to just pay the money for the good thing so that you can get the best of the best. Okay, number 5. Know your product, know your competition. And this doesn't mean that you need to go out and do every single Beachbody workout program, or that you need to try every single product that comes out on the market with Beachbody, or go back and try them all out. But you do need to know what you know. So if you're going to try and talk with somebody about the 21-day fix, you do need to know that program. Or if you're going to talk to somebody about Shakeology, get to know it. Don't be shy about learning about the products that we offer for Beachbody. You can do that lots of ways. There are tons of videos in the back office, so you can check those out. You can talk to other coaches on our team. You can talk to challengers in the group. Some of them may be doing a program through you that you haven't done yet. Just get to know, and then get to know our competition a little bit. And how do you do that? Google. I mean, how does anybody learn anything these days? Or talk with some other representatives from other companies and see what they're doing. But get to know a little bit more. Don't be shy about that, and don't lean on your upline. You can FAQ anything just the same as anybody else. So look in the back office, understand what we're doing so that you can have a good idea of what to talk to people about. And when they have questions, you can have some answers or know where to find them. So how does this come up in the context of price objections or resistance? If somebody says, I can get it cheaper, and of course this happens a lot with shakes. But it could happen with something else, like I could go to the gym, or I can whatever. So your answer, if they say I can get it cheaper somewhere else, then you want to start with the question, well, what are you comparing it to? You can get what cheaper? And it's not like a defensive, like kind of question. It's just a general, like, informational question. Like, tell me what we're talking about so I know how to answer you. So you can say, in regards to, let's say, Shakeology, that's probably the one that we would hear the most. You can get a cheaper shake somewhere. You could say that's true, but there are very distinct differences about why Shakeology costs so much more. Would you like to know what some of these are? And this is why I was saying it's so important to get to know our back office a bit, or get to know what's in Shakeology. What are the reasons why you like it? What are the reasons why some of the people on our team like it? And we have all those testimonials. And I can reshare those at some point about why people on our team like Shakeology. So you don't need to know every ingredient of the 70 ingredients, but maybe pick out a couple that are meaningful to you and that you would like to get to know a little bit better. Another answer you could say is, yes, ours is more expensive than the competitor. Would you like to know why? And then, I mean, the other thing is, it's funny how much they think they know or how much is on the market. If they're not even actually interested in the product, but they really are interested. So it's interesting how much people think they know and how much research they do on their own. Okay, number 6. You can show them the value of the product, Shakeology or a workout program or whatever, by showing them the price over the lifetime of the product. So you want to show them over time what the value is. So yes, we pay for Shakeology up front, but over time, what does that mean? Yes, we pay for DVDs up front, but over time, what does that translate to? So for example, you could say something like, yes, P90X is more than a monthly gym membership up front, but this has a lifetime guarantee. So let's, for example, say that you're going to use it over the course of the next 10 years. And let's say that, I don't actually know the price of just P90X, but let's pretend that it works out to be $10 a year. So is it worth spending $10 a year on something like that would be one example. Or maybe you're talking about Shakeology. Like, yes, Shakeology seems expensive at first, but it works out to about $4 a day, which is actually cheaper than a Starbucks coffee, a lunch at Subway, whatever other comparison might be meaningful to that person. Okay, last one here is to use testimonials. So there is a ton of power in social proof, and I'm actually currently reading The Thank You Economy by Gary Vaynerchuk, and basically the message is that in olden days, when they're prior to both social media and people moving outside of cities, there was this economy of people that there was so much emphasis based on what your neighbor was doing, because everybody saw what their neighbors were doing. And it really was a time, I mean, we've probably seen it on TV, or maybe if some of you have parents or grandparents who talk about things like this, where, somebody drove the new car into the neighborhood and everybody knew and acknowledged it and whatever, or, the kid of the neighborhood started riding their bike and everybody acknowledged it. And it was like, and now basically we're kind of coming back to that era, except for our communities are online instead of our literal neighborhood, which is why people are so drawn to Facebook. I think it's really that they're just trying to reconnect in a way that used to be very meaningful and powerful, but isn't. But the bottom line is, people are going to take the word of somebody else over the facts and figures usually. Most people are, most women are, because most women are emotional buyers. So the bottom line is there's a lot of power to be had in showing a person that somebody else has had success, somebody else has had the same question and they overcame that question, or they might need for somebody just to have tried it first before they try it. So so basically the bottom line is the salesperson, which is us in this case, our assertions aren't proof to the person we're trying to talk to. It's not enough for us to just say that this is the best on the market, because people, I mean, we know we won't lie, but they might not believe that we are not trying to pull it over on them or something like that. So the best thing we can do is talk about the evidence, the proof. We can do some comparisons to something else, but the testimonial, the success stories, our own, our other, our fellow coaches, our fellow challengers, and the more we can create the success story, or not create, but the more we can liken the success story to the person we're talking to, the better the chance that they're going to eventually end up buying, because they're going to see that person had the same objection as me, or that person started in the same place as me, or that person has as much weight to lose as me, or whatever it is. Which is why it's so important for us to be story collectors and to share our stories with each other so that we can use those stories to help other people learn and see what we're doing. Okay, so finally, the close. So this is going to be a whole nother topic for another call. There are actually, I don't know how many, I'm going to guess tens of, maybe hundreds of different techniques for closing, and they have different names. And they're all very interesting to me because I had no idea this was even a thing, that there were different ways to close somebody. So this is when closing is, when you get to the end. So you've made your, essentially you've talked about the value and benefits, you've talked about the cost, now it's time for them to make the purchase. And the way it's described is that it's most uncomfortable, both for the person who wants them to buy and for the person who's making, buying it. That's the most uncomfortable part. So it's our job to help ease people through that as best we can, as smoothly as we can. And in this case, when we're talking about a price objection, this question might be the best one, although you might want to phrase it a little bit differently. But what would we need to do to make a deal today? Or in other words, what would we need to do to get you started today? Or what would we need to do to get you in the challenge group today? So this is kind of the place where we will want to see, is price really the objection? Because it might not be. So so you might want to say something like, how far apart are we? You give them the price and they don't sign on right away. So how far apart are we? How much were you expecting to pay for something like this? Maybe it's not that far off. So maybe you have shown them, let's use TurboFire, because I think that one's 160. So let's say you showed them TurboFire and you say, how much were you, and that's 160, how much were you expecting to pay? And they were like, I was expecting a little less. Then you might say, oh, well, there's these other programs that are 140 that maybe that would fit your budget a little better right now. There are also great starter programs, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's not as far off as you think. So asking the question is really important. And then you might want to say, is the price your only concern? Because you want to know, maybe the objection really is something else. Maybe they're totally afraid that they failed other things and this is really just kind of their excuse. So if they come down and they say it's too expensive or whatever, then you might want to say something like that. Is the price your only concern? And then if they say yes and whatever, then you can put them on, you can talk with them about that. Or if they say no, actually, blah, 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 then you know that you want to talk to them about the other thing. Okay, so that was a lot of information. Let me stop sharing for a second here. There we go. All right, so what kinds of questions did you guys have about that? Oh, there's something in the chat that I totally missed. Okay, just me. Okay, there we go. So what kind of questions did that bring up for any of you? Do you want me to go back through any of those things, or was anything confusing?
Kelsey and I were just talking earlier about how, like, you tell them the price or you tell them what things are, and they're like, oh, well, I'll just look for it online. Which, they can probably get it cheaper online. Is the better come back to them to say, well, that's fine to look online, but you're going to lose access to our groups. And I told her, like, not to threaten them, but just to kind of say, like, you can't stop them from going online to look at it and buy it and possibly find a better deal, but they're not going to get the same access.
Yeah. Are they looking for the workout program, you mean?
No, probably Shakeology.
Yeah. Okay, wait. So set it up again. So you've talked to them about it. You've shown them the value, and they say, "Thanks. I'm going to go look online, see if I can find a better deal."
Mm-hmm.
That's so rude. I'm sorry. that's probably not what Brian Tracy would say. Yeah. Okay. So let me think.
Well, I guess they just think it's kind of like an Amazon thing. Like, you buy a book, like, you're just going to go find the best deal for the book.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, I guess I do that, but I don't think people recognize like what's involved in the whole thing. So that's where I was trying to tell her. I said, the thing you might want to say back to them is, like, you could probably go find it online, but just recognize, like, the big piece that you're missing that's actually a lot of success is within our accountability group, and that can only be accessed when you purchase through me. But
yes. Okay. Oh, I think I got it. Yes. Do you say that, but let's make it a story, right? So let's say you can make up the person, or maybe there's a real person. Let's say Terry thought the same thing, but when she went to find it online and she got it, she didn't get into my group. And that's the thing that really, you know what I mean? Or no, don't make it a negative. Make it, Terry tried it on her own, but what she found was that she needed the support. So when she did and bought it again, or something, let's make up a story.
Right.
Attach it to a person who had that same thought, but then found out that she really needed to be.
Right. Well, it is funny you say, so I have a couple friends who do supplements, but they go to, and they've been doing it for years, doing like GNC or complete nutrition. Like, that's just how they've always built their bodies, and they have great success. But we were at Super Saturday, and one of my challengers came, and it's Tina. She had signed up as a coach as well, but she came along, and I was bringing a friend along too, who had really never heard a whole lot about Beachbody, but she is a very strong, buff woman, knows her nutrition, treats her body well, but never really thought about Shakeology. So anyways, I'm trying to set it up properly. She was sitting beside me. We were talking, and Tina, who was one of my challengers back in the summer, had wanted to get a challenge group, but had a ton of a different supplement like doTERRA Shakeology or doTERRA protein shake. And I didn't even know they sold protein shakes, which I would never buy protein shake from oil essentialists. But anyways, she had a bunch of it, and she's like, I just don't want to waste it. And I said, that's fine, Tina, like, use it, and I'll let you come in my group anyways. Like, I really want to help support you. So that was like somebody I let into the group without Shakeology. And she did the group. She was a great participant, followed the nutrition plan. Awesome. Went through the whole doTERRA month and didn't really have any results. So she decided, she's like, okay, I'm going to do Shakeology this time, I think. And the cool part was she was in the challenge group hearing from everybody about everybody's Shakeology and how it was great and their recipes. And, and so I think she felt like she was missing out a little bit. So that was a blessing to put her in the group without having to buy it. But she said as soon as she added Shakeology, her results like happened immediately. So while she was saying that story, my friend next to me, who has been doing, complete nutrition or GNC shakes, was kind of really sold a little bit at that point. She was kind of like, wow, I never recognized or realized that it was that powerful. And I then had the opportunity to explain like what was in it and why. So I don't know. I guess that's a testimony that not all shakes are created equal. And it's more than just the protein, which a lot of these other places are selling is just protein.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's exactly it. So you had the social proof, you had then she saw the value, you had the opportunity. I think Brian Tracy would be so proud.
He was proud. I had no control over it whatsoever. It was not me.
You know what? That's what happened a lot for us at fit clubs, which is why fit clubs were so great. If you had a ringer in there or two that were already drinking Shakeology or already doing a program or whatever, because it was that piece. It was like not me, the leader of fit club,
right.
selling, but other people's little stories and their own testimonials, and somebody else had tried it first, and somebody else had success.
Right.
So,
because I think she always thought Shakeology was like any other shake. So.
Right. I'm going to pull something up. Hang on 1 second. I'm going to show you something that I had in my head for what we could do. Wait a minute. Okay. Let me share this with you guys real quick. Okay, so hopefully this makes sense to you and not just in my brain. So what I was thinking we could do is have this like outline. We sort of started talking about at the retreat, but I tried to put it together so that everybody can use these things. So we put down the objection. We think through what's the real question they're asking. We put down what answer, if it was a successful sale, put down what answer we gave, and then the testimonial afterwards to support it, so that the next person can go through and say they had this objection. Now they already have the story in their hand, even if it's not their personal story. So that what you just told me made me think of this other person, Jill, who told me she was already drinking a shake. And I thought to myself, her question is, why is it so much more expensive? And what will it do for me that my protein shake isn't already doing? And this was the response. This was when I was still working with that guy, Dan, who has since fallen off the face of the earth. Poor guy, I hope he's okay. Anyway, he helped me come up with this answer. I love that you're familiar with incorporating shakes already. If you're serious about hitting your goal and powering through that carb craving, because she had told me she had, that was one of her issues. I want you to begin Shakeology. You just can't recreate the nutrient-dense benefit it offers, and it has been essential in reducing my carb cravings and keeping my energy level high enough that I can make goal-oriented food decisions and not just react to low energy emergencies. I found these to be a huge factor in my food failures, like reactive emotional mindless eating. Your goal is achievable. We just need to nail the basics. Blah, blah, blah. And then what happened was she said yes. And she did, and she started Shakeology. And within the challenge group, she was stuck, and she lost 16 pounds over 6 weeks, changing nothing except for Shakeology for breakfast. So anyway, what I'm thinking is that if we can collect those kinds of things, the ones that are successful, then we can kind of tweak them. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? So you could even write out that little story that you said, Sarah, if you're up for it. And the same thing, like she had this objection, she heard this story, now she's on board. And if she has a success story afterwards.
Was that little thing you just showed us, Kathleen? I missed that. Was that from the Brian Tracy thing? Or that's just random?
That's from the Kathleen Petula library.
Oh. I feel like I read that objection and answer before, but
I think I posted it in the Coach Base.
Okay,
file.
That's probably why. Got it.
But anyway, I'm thinking if we can just collect those, then it'll be a little easier going. You know what I mean? Okay, what else do you guys? Did you guys think of the Brian Tracy stuff?
I was going to say I like that, and when we were going over it at the retreat and things, I put a note that I wanted to take those and write them up and then post them on a wall, just put them on a piece of paper next to me, because I feel like whenever that is the biggest objection for me anyway, I feel, and for a lot of us, the price objection, not necessarily to fitness programs, but to Shakeology. And having those real stories, like Sarah shared and the stories that you have, and even the ways to all those different strategies you just went over on how to sort of get around focusing on that first. I sometimes am just like right away. So I think I need that like guide. So I'm going to do that now. I'll take your slides.
What do you, I mean, we could create something. What do you think would be, I don't know, another photo album? So this is kind of what I'm wondering for our moving forward. Terry and I have talked about this a little bit. So, because Facebook, the files, they're so hard. They're not organized in any way. And so it's just kind of, everything gets muffled and lost, and it's very annoying. But what I was thinking is we could have a separate like Inspiration Nation skill set group. Like, so we could keep the Inspiration Nation as it is, like for resources and updates and questions and stuff like that. But then what I was thinking is we could have like a technical page, and I could turn these slides into a photo album that's just titled like price objections. And then the next time we do a call like this, closing techniques, you know what I mean? And have them all kind of in one place and reminders, so that thankfully a lot of what we do is on, you know, we have the liberty of not needing to think right away, instantly on our feet. We can just go into the price objection photo album and run through them real quick. What are they saying? Oh, that's right. This is how I'm supposed to respond, until it becomes second nature. I'll take your silence as an affirmation.
I started talking and I'm muted. I was going to say, I like that idea. Yes. I feel like there are so many things in our files that are useful, and I don't even go into them anymore because I hate searching like the long list of things. So, yeah, I do like the photo albums. And people could even take those and do what they want with them, you know, like if they wanted to take the information and put them in their own, whatever, Google Doc or Evernote or Word, whatever, they could do something like that. But to have it in a place just to go to quickly, like that, I like it. That's my piece.
Thanks. All right, I'm going to work on that. Maybe this will be the first photo album in a group like that. I hate to add more groups, but I feel like if they have a good purpose, then maybe it's not burdensome. Maybe it's a resource, which is my hope. Okay, so did anybody want to talk about the other stuff, the updates, the Success Club trip, or the cup challenge, or cafe latte, or any of that stuff? Does everybody feel okay about those things? Jeannie, God love you, you're still awake.
Well, I was going to say, Jeannie, didn't you send an email to all your customers about cafe latte, and then were they not on Shakeology and then they went on it again, or they switched?
She has never been on Shakeology. And her response is she wanted to know if there was a sample pack of it that she could purchase, which there is not. But I told her that I was getting sample packs and I'd be happy to send her one. So she could eventually end up being a new Shakeology customer.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, I was just going to say and recommend people emailing or sending a message to all your current customers about it. And some may switch over. Those that are inactive, you know how many people like love those Starbucks like cold drinks? I just think it's a great opportunity to, you know, kind of maybe get new customers or people who are inactive active again. So I was gonna bring that up.
Yeah, she had she had purchased a program. She just didn't want the Shakeology at the time, but now she may be interested. So,
Jeannie, how did you get the sample packs?
Well, I ordered a box of the packets.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not getting it's not a
Yeah.
sample pack that I purchased. I just purchased
Got it.
packets instead of a
Okay.
bag.
Yep, okay.
Cool. All right, ladies. Well, let's wrap it up for tonight. Thanks for getting on. I appreciate seeing all your beautiful faces. In your sleepy
Sorry.
faces. Except for you, Julie. I'm imagining you are picture perfect right now.
Yeah, right.
Not in your ponytail, ready for bed.
Well, I do have my jammies on.
I am imagining you in a ball gown, so we'll just go with that.
Let's go with it.
All right, ladies. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.